Welcome back to Gold Rush Reporter, where we track the pulse of the gold and silver markets, from price movements to the stories shaping the world of precious metals. I'm your host, your gold and silver analyst, bringing you another deep insight straight from the source. Today we're going behind the scenes of one of the most fascinating institutions in the gold world, the Perth Mint. And what I'm about to show you isn't just about coins or collectibles. It's a snapshot of how serious the global demand for gold has become in 2025. If you think gold at $2,500 is impressive, wait till you hear the real numbers. Tell me in the comments, where do you think gold will be trading by the end of 2025? I'm standing here at the Perth Mint Exhibition Centre, right next to something truly unbelievable. The world's largest gold coin. This one-ton masterpiece, an absolute marvel, was valued at $98 million when I first arrived. Today, it's worth over $200 million. That's right, more than double its original value. And that right there perfectly reflects what's happening across the precious metals market. Volatility, yes, but also massive, sustained demand. What's really interesting is how the Perth Mint is experiencing a fresh surge in activity, one that, according to their own staff, surpasses even the COVID-era boom. That's a bold statement. During the pandemic, gold demand exploded as people scrambled for safe haven assets. But this 2025 rush is on another level entirely. This year's spotlight piece is the 2025 Dragon Coin Bar, an intricate design that's become one of the Mint's most celebrated creations. The detailing, craftsmanship, and symbolism behind this coin bar speak volumes about how Australia continues to merge artistry with bullion excellence. And guess what? I actually got to meet the artist behind this masterpiece. We'll get into that later. But let's just say it's one of the most unique coin designs I've seen in years. Before that, though, a quick heads up for anyone who wants to own a piece of this story. You can buy gold or silver directly from SD Bullion, one of the most trusted online sources for precious metals. Just visit sdbullion.com/new. It's quick, secure, and a great way to start or expand your holdings while prices are still in play. During my time here in Australia, I had the incredible opportunity to sit down privately with Paul Graham, the CEO of the Perth Mint. A once-in-a-lifetime experience. We discussed the current state of the gold market, the Mint's evolving role, and what the future of physical bullion really looks like from their perspective. But before we get to that interview, let's take a quick walk through the Mint itself. Because once you see what goes on inside these walls, you'll understand why the Perth Mint is not just surviving in today's market. It's thriving. From the massive rebar framework supporting their displays to the precision of their coin casting, everything here screams one thing: heritage, quality, and mastery. Take a look at this. The one-ton coin's rim alone required extensive engineering adjustments just to prevent warping during production. Every element, from the pressure ratios to the gold purity balance, was tested to perfection. And yes, the Mint is open to the public. Anyone visiting Perth can walk right in and witness the world's largest gold coin up close. On its reverse side is the iconic image of Queen Elizabeth II, surrounded by intricate safety markings and details that truly represent Australia's minting excellence. This isn't just about art or display. It's a symbol of endurance in a world of unstable currencies and digital uncertainty. Inside the Perth Mint, history and modern innovation exist side by side. Walking through the exhibition floor, you immediately realize this isn't just a tourist attraction. It's a living archive of Australia's legacy in precious metals. Every display tells a story, from the country's gold rush beginnings to the cutting-edge refining techniques used today. One of the most fascinating pieces I came across was a sovereign trial plate, used to test the accuracy and consistency of early coin production. It's a small but vital part of minting history. Nearby sits a shattered fake half-sovereign, a reminder that counterfeiting has always been part of the gold world, and why authenticity remains critical even today. The Perth Mint takes that very seriously. Every modern piece they produce carries advanced security features that make duplication almost impossible. But then you come across something truly extraordinary. The very first coin ever struck at the Perth Mint. There's a kind of reverence in that display. It's more than metal. It's the birth of Australia's minting tradition. And sitting right next to it is a trial plate made of 6/9 fine gold, symbolizing the journey from early experimentation to the near-perfect 99.9999 purity standards the Mint achieves today. In the center of the exhibit, they've placed a display of gold in its purest form. Brilliant, untouched, and absolutely mesmerizing. Not far from that are the Olympic medals from the Sydney 2000 Games. Gold, silver, and bronze. When you see them up close, it's surprising to learn that the gold medals themselves are actually silver with gold plating, around 6 grams of real gold in each. The silver medals, tarnished from age, look raw and authentic, proof that even the most prestigious metals age with dignity. It's a humbling reminder of how timeless yet imperfect metal can be. There's also a fully automated minting machine that allows visitors to create their own small medallions. Watching it operate gives you a sense of how far minting technology has advanced since 1899, when the Perth Mint first opened its doors. The pressure, precision, and speed behind that automation are astounding. Yet it still reflects the same craftsmanship and care that defined the Mint over a century ago. Looking up, you can see the original structure of the Perth Mint still standing strong. It's a mix of history and progress, old architecture reinforced with new technology. The Mint might be 126 years old, but nothing about it feels outdated. Every process, every corner tells you this is a place where tradition and innovation coexist seamlessly. The tour gives you more than just visuals. It gives perspective. When you see the craftsmanship behind each coin, you understand why collectors and investors worldwide hold Perth Mint bullion in such high regard. Whether it's a 1-ton coin or a small silver bar, the same level of detail and quality goes into every piece. And this isn't just about beauty, it's about trust. The Perth Mint stands as one of the few institutions globally that still refines, designs, mints, and distributes precious metals all under one roof. That's why it's a benchmark for purity, authenticity, and value worldwide. When I sat down with Paul Graham, the CEO of the Perth Mint, his calm confidence immediately stood out. You could tell he understood not just the business of gold, but its deeper meaning, why it matters in times like these. He began by sharing how proud the Mint is of its 126-year heritage, making it one of the oldest operating mints in the Southern Hemisphere. For him, that history isn't just something to display, it's a responsibility to uphold. He mentioned he'd only been in the role since late 2023, roughly 25 days when the interview was filmed, yet he already had a clear grasp of the Mint's direction. The timing couldn't have been better. Precious metal prices were climbing sharply, and investor interest was at its strongest in years. As he put it, the 1-ton gold coin sitting next to me was valued at $98 million when I arrived. Today, it's worth just over $200 million. That single comparison tells the whole story of where the gold market stands in 2025. Soaring demand, limited supply, and unstoppable upward momentum. According to Paul, the key to the Perth Mint's longevity has been staying relevant while respecting its tradition. The mint isn't just riding the wave of this global gold rush, it's strategically positioning itself to lead it. The management and board, he explained, have invested heavily to modernize every layer of the operation, refining, production, and distribution. Over the last few years, they've been investing close to 100 million Australian dollars per year, and they plan to continue that for at least the next 3. That scale of investment isn't small change. The Perth Mint is government-owned, backed by the Government of Western Australia, and holds a AAA credit rating, something that's almost unheard of for a mint. That level of financial strength gives them an advantage very few institutions can match. It means stability, credibility, and the ability to maintain top-tier quality no matter what happens in the broader economy. He emphasized that the Mint's reputation in global markets, particularly in the United States, remains one of its greatest strengths. American investors trust the Perth Mint's products, not just for their beauty, but for their guaranteed quality. If it comes from the Perth Mint, Paul said, we stand behind it completely. When I asked about the Mint's top-performing bullion products, he smiled and said, "You can't go wrong with the kangaroos, koalas, and kookaburras." The classic Australian icons still dominate demand, with gold coins leading in value and silver coins leading in volume. But personally, he said his favorite products are the minted bars, which have seen massive popularity, especially in the United States. We also discussed the current market environment, particularly the lease rate activity that has been shaking up the industry in 2025. Earlier in year, lease rates had hit levels not seen in decades. But the Perth Mint, he explained, was largely shielded from the worst of it because of its enormous precious metal storage and depository business. That storage arm provides steady liquidity, allowing them to keep operations stable even when volatility hits other refiners and mints. Still, Paul made it clear they're not getting complacent. Efficiency, throughput, and cost control remain key priorities. We have to maintain affordability without sacrificing quality, he said firmly. That's the tightrope every serious player in the bullion industry has to walk, and the Perth Mint seems to be doing it better than most. By this point in our conversation, it was obvious that the Perth Mint isn't just an old institution trying to survive in a modern market. It's a forward-looking organization actively shaping the global gold industry. They've got the heritage, the credibility, and now the strategic focus to match the times. When we started discussing how the Perth Mint sources its gold and silver, Paul explained something that most people outside the industry don't realize. The Mint doesn't just make coins, it also plays a massive role in Australia's entire precious metals ecosystem. Almost all the gold mined in Western Australia flows through the Perth Mint at some point. They refine, process, and transform it into globally recognized products, meaning they're not just a mint. They're the backbone of the Australian bullion supply chain. He said, "Our refining operations are one of the largest in the world. We refine around 300 to 400 tons of gold every year. That's an astonishing number. It puts the Perth Mint on the same scale as the biggest refiners globally and far ahead of most private mints. They don't just refine Australian gold either. The Mint also handles gold from other regions, further establishing Western Australia as a global hub for precious metals." Paul noted that having direct relationships with miners is a major competitive edge. It allows the Mint to maintain purity standards, ensure ethical sourcing, and deliver consistent quality. He said, "Every ounce we produce can be traced back to a legitimate source." That transparency builds confidence with investors worldwide. In a time when fake bullion and questionable refineries are becoming a growing concern, that's no small advantage. Then we turn to silver. Paul admitted silver refining has been more challenging in recent years because of higher demand and lower margins. Still, the Perth Mint continues to produce massive volumes of silver bullion, especially coins, because of how deeply silver resonates with everyday investors. Gold tends to be a store of wealth, he said. But silver is participation wealth. It's how ordinary people get involved in the metals market. That's a powerful statement, and it perfectly sums up why silver demand has been exploding since 2023. He also touched on the Mint's expanding role in digital gold solutions. The Perth Mint is one of the few government-backed institutions in the world to offer digitally tradable gold, fully backed by physical reserves. This hybrid model is attracting a new generation of investors, people who want exposure to gold's stability, but with the convenience of modern trading platforms. Paul described it as bridging the old and the new. Physical certainty meets digital access. I asked him how they plan to handle this rising wave of global demand, especially with gold prices hitting new highs almost monthly. His response was straightforward. You can't control the market, but you can control how you respond to it. That meant expanding production capacity, improving refining efficiency, and strengthening international distribution channels. Their goal is to ensure that the Perth Mint remains the first choice for investors, not just in Australia, but everywhere. He also mentioned a shift in investor behavior. Large institutions and sovereign buyers are now showing greater interest in Tarkshi, direct physical ownership, something that used to be the domain of individuals and collectors. We're seeing central banks and funds requesting allocations in actual bullion, not paper gold, he said. That's a major indicator that confidence in fiat systems continues to erode, and gold's role as real money is coming back stronger than ever. As our discussion moved toward the future, Paul stressed that adaptability is critical. The industry changes, technology changes, but the fundamentals don't. People trust gold because it doesn't lie, he said. That one line captured the essence of why the Perth Mint remains such a cornerstone of the global metals market. By the end of the conversation, it was clear that this isn't just a mint resting on its history. It's a modern powerhouse that's evolving with the times while keeping the core values of trust, transparency, and excellence intact. As our conversation came to an end, Paul Graham made one thing crystal clear. The future of the Perth Mint isn't just about gold and silver. It's about trust, innovation, and sustainability. In his words, you can't build a 126-year legacy without thinking about the next 126 years. That forward-thinking mindset runs deep in everything they do. He explained that sustainability has become a core part of their long-term strategy. The Mint is now implementing greener refining technologies, improving waste management systems, and working directly with mining partners to ensure environmentally responsible sourcing. We want the Perth Mint to represent not just the purity of our metals, but the purity of our practices, Paul said. It's a message that resonates deeply in today's investment world, where ethics and transparency matter more than ever. Looking ahead, the Perth Mint's leadership sees gold not just as a commodity, but as a strategic financial asset, one that's slowly returning to the center of global monetary systems. Countries are quietly increasing their reserves. Institutions are shifting from paper gold to physical, and ordinary investors are stacking like never before. This renewed demand isn't a trend. It's a reflection of collapsing confidence in fiat currencies and the broader financial system. Paul believes the next decade will bring even greater transformation. From digital gold platforms to expanded global partnerships, the Mint plans to bridge the gap between old-world bullion security and modern financial accessibility. He hinted that Australia's central position in the global mining industry could make the Perth Mint a critical player in the coming era of gold-backed financial networks, systems that might redefine how the world views money itself. Before wrapping up, I asked him what keeps him motivated leading one of the most iconic institutions in the metals industry. His answer was simple. Gold never lies. It's honest money. And in a world where everything else feels uncertain, that's what people need. Honesty they can hold. That line stuck with me. It's exactly why gold and silver analysts like me pay close attention to institutions like the Perth Mint, because their actions often reveal where global sentiment is heading. So, what's the takeaway here? The Perth Mint is positioning itself not just to survive this bull run, but to define it. Backed by a government guarantee, driven by innovation, and built on over a century of credibility, it stands as one of the strongest and most trusted forces in the entire precious metals industry. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of this deep dive into one of the world's most influential mints. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Gold Rush Reporter, and turn on notifications, because we've got more powerful stories, global insights, and exclusive interviews coming your way. This is your host from Gold Rush Reporter, reminding you, in a world drowning in paper promises, real wealth is the kind you can hold. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next report.